LCTV is your nonprofit community media station. Please donate at lctv.org to keep us strong. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome once again. It's Talkin' Town Talk. I'm your host for tonight's show, Larry Seidlinger, and today we got a really special one, something completely out of the norm for me. We're at the Waldo Theater and we are going to be talking about a play called Homegrown, and it's written by Carmo Sanders. You might know her as Birdie from the old Martins commercials. And we're sitting here with Susan Harder, Carmo Sanders, Peter Henderson, and Zora Margolis, who are Peter and Zora are the actors. Carmo wrote the play, and Susan is the director. Welcome you all. Thank you for taking the time and talking to this neophyte when it comes to plays, because I probably have been to two in my life. So we'll start with Carmo. So how did you get into playwriting?
Well, I was an actress for many, many years at Mad Horse in Portland. Then I became an equity actress in Kentucky, of all places. But then I discovered I was a much better playwright than I was an actress. I discovered that through a director who sent me to work with Maria Irene Fornes, who's a very famous playwright. And I went, oh, that's what I'm good at. But I can't imagine being a playwright without having ever been an actor or knowing how to build a set, light a set. I'm completely also a technician, so that's where it happened.
Almost like any business, you start from the ground and you do whatever you have to do to get it done.
Sure.
So Susan, you're the director of this play.
Yes, sir.
So what's your experience with, you're the director, you're executive director here at the Waldo,
Yeah.
but what's your experience as far as being a director of a play?
I think I directed my first community theater production when I was in my late 20s, because I'd been doing community theater for 10 years by then. And I just always, when I read a script, I can see it. I can hear the actors' voices. I can see how I want it staged. And it's just something that's always come really naturally to me. So I had an opportunity to give it a try, and my first opportunity went really well. And so I was asked to direct over and over again. And so I've probably directed close to 24 plays in my life. And when I read this script, I knew this was what I wanted to do.
So, Carmo, how did you come up with the idea for Homegrown?
Well, when I start writing...
Don't tell us everything, because it's like cooking a steak. We got to give them a little smell here. So how did you come up with the idea?
I know this guy. This guy, Homer, I know him. He was in the town I grew up with. I've known him his whole life. He died in a dory accident. He fell overboard. Of course, he was probably drunk. He's a great guy, a wonderful man. And I knew him. And suddenly one day I was writing and Homer started talking. I mean, I hate to say that I'm schizophrenic, but as a playwright, people talk to you and you have to just listen to them. And this whole thing started happening. And that's how I know this guy.
So, Peter, your part in this play, you are...
I'm playing Homer, so it might explain why I'm drinking all the time. Yeah, probably, huh? Yes.
So what do you like about this character, Homer?
Oh, I'm really drawn to him. I think he's sort of a guy I know too, from the little town I live in. I think a lot of these coastal towns, island towns, have a Homer who everybody knows, but likes being on his own and likes fixing things and kind of an uncomplicated life, and his life gets very complicated in the course of this play. So I love the structure of the play in that it's funny, and it really is, but there's some moments that are really sweet and poignant and personal, and it touches a lot of those kind of bases, I think.
So Zora, what do you play in this?
Well, I play Lena. You know, it's the story of a pregnant bride on her wedding day. And I played...
Not you.
No, I'm not. No. I'm the bride's aunt. And I've been carrying a torch for Homer for years. Yeah.
I know.
And she's a fascinating character. I absolutely adore her. She's histrionic. I call her a geriatric sex pot. And because she's had a lot of relationships in her life, none of which have worked out. But she's still, hoping. Always
You've sold
hoping.
me. I'm coming to see this play.
But wait, there's more.
I'm sure there is. Susan, so how do you approach casting for a production like this as the director?
Oh, good question.
I hope so.
I like to see what the individuals can bring to what we call the sides. Basically, as a director, I'll put together a paragraph or two of dialogue or monologue that the actor would have to read. And I like to see the interpretation that each individual brings to it. It's far less about how someone looks and far more about their take on the character. And when I work with actors as a director, it's really a collaboration. Together, we help to define that character. We talk about what is behind their choices and the things that they really want. What is the character looking for? So I like to start to uncover those things during the casting process, and then I also like to see the actors read together so that we can see where there's chemistry between people, because that's one of those intangible things. When you see the people together, it suddenly clicks. Then you know you've got a good combination and a group of people that'll work well together. And we have a cast of 6 in this play. Peter and Zora are definitely the 2 most experienced actors. And then we have 2 other folks, Greg and Christina, who are, they have some experience and they're really talented and just naturally great. And then we have 2 other folks, Sherry and Henry, who are making their debuts on stage. This is going to be their first performances. So it's a really nice balance and a really great way to get community theater back on its feet here at the Waldo.
So Zora, as she's talking about these characters, you have to come up with the idea for these characters. How do you come up with these characters?
Well, I've been writing playwriting now since the 90s, and I have a master's from BU as a playwright. I don't always come up with a character. I come up with a place. And
then fit the people to the place?
All I can say is when someone starts talking to you, I have to know exactly where I am. I knew exactly what Homer's shed looked like. I knew where every wrench was in my head. I designed the set, I built it, I knew where I was. I knew who wanted to walk in there. And then if the telephone rings, I go, oh, there's a telephone. I wonder who's calling and what they're gonna say. And I'm sorry. I was talking to August Wilson. It's nice being this old. I've met some wonderful people. And August Wilson, and everybody's like, everybody in the club, they were all about how they out. And August and I were outside having a cigarette, and I was like, I never know where I'm going. I never have any idea who's gonna say what when. He goes, me either. I have a box. I pull out a piece of dialogue, an object, and a character, and I go from there. I never know where I'm going. So how do I know? I just listen to these characters, and if someone walks through the door, they walk through the door. And then, I don't know, it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Well, it's similar to maybe like music. You do different riffs and whatnot. You
yes, because then I wrote a musical, which just opened, closed, in Anchorage, Alaska, full-length Broadway-style musical. And I wrote that with my collaborator husband, who has passed away. And that was like a whole new ball game, because to write comedy is all rhythm. It's all rhythm. Yeah. It's all how they talk together. Who's saying what? And so the musical is also brilliant.
Peter, what do you love about Homer?
Well, I have mixed feelings about Homer. I mean, he's a complex guy, which is credit to the playwright. I mean, he's not a one-dimensional guy. So, I mean, to answer your question, I like the way he handles himself, and I like his role in the community. But he's got some issues, and you and I haven't talked, but my sense of the title is that Homer is bound somewhere, that in the course of this play, he's going somewhere. And I mentioned earlier, I mean, there's a major transition that I think happens to Homer in the course of this play, where his whole worldview changes from the beginning to the end. And that's, from an actor's point of view, boy, that's a rich thing to kind of work with, to have a starting place and, as you said, not really know how it's going to end. But at the end, it's a whole new kind of revelation, I think, he has on life. And I think if there's a theme of the play, if forgive me, like getting too deep into it, that's it. That that we aren't all just kind of stuck on an island somewhere living out our lives. That there are communities, and you figure out a way to get through problems, and they're tragic and they're funny, but you survive.
Lena, Zora, same question. Lena, what do you love about Lena?
Well, I love that Lena. Well, she's a pistol. That's what I love about her. She's definitely a very strong individual. She's never given up on the idea of finding love, and that's what I love about her the most. She's just, she says it's hard getting older, but she's still putting her red lipstick on, and she's never given up hope that she's going to have the relationship that she has been, pining for. She's funny. She's very funny, but there's a core of sadness underneath her that, as an actor, I try to get in touch with, and that you see come up occasionally in the play.
Was that the biggest challenge, taking on this character?
No, this character just taps into everything I love to do. I am a character comedian. I love to play outrageous characters. I absolutely love to make people laugh.
And you're great at it.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Right on time.
I'm totally addicted to the audience and that wave of laughter that comes across the front of the stage. That feeds me.
So, Peter, I'm going to ask you, what was the biggest challenge of taking on Homer?
Probably learning the lines. I think the initial response from an actor is the lines. There's great dialect in this character that you've written for me, but it's a pattern, and it's a rhythm, and he uses very colorful phrases that are on the edge of being dirty, but he finds a way to shade them, and so just technically I am finding that, we're not quite there, difficult to get that right. Beyond that, I think it's trying to get to who he is in an honest way without making him a caricature. I was a little concerned when we started rehearsing this that he was too flinty New England lobsterman, too perfect, and he's not, and that's what I think is great. He's not. He's got some of those qualities that we all like about that kind of good soul in these communities that we live in, but he's flawed.
Susan, with the actors and the lighting and the sound and the everything that goes with putting a play on, how do you bring it all together?
Well, it definitely takes a team. And
you're only as good as your team.
Absolutely. And in addition to the 6 actors, there are a lot of other people that make up the team. So we have a lighting designer who is our resident lighting guru here, Alex Dranitz. We have a sound designer, our sound man, Eddie Holm. Our costumer is a professional costumer. She also works here at the Waldo, Kathleen Brown. We've got Alan, a wonderful set designer, set builder. And We've got a bunch of props people working on it right now. Everybody's volunteer. Nobody gets paid for any of this. This is 100% community-based volunteer work.
There's no check, Peter, at the door.
And they're all coordinated by one of the most unsung roles, which is the producer. And George Bates is producing, and he's our Waldo theater volunteer extraordinaire. And so he's kind of the, puppet master kind of.
So I'm going to take you back. So for the folks at home, explain the difference between the playwright, the producer, and the director.
Sure. The playwright tells us all who we are, who the actors are, and gives us the setting. But it's all on paper. So my role is to read that script over and over again, to interpret it, to try and be faithful to it, to help the actors bring those characters to life, and to help the design team bring the setting to life. And how can we best create an environment for the actors to play in and on, something that the audience will find interesting and engaging, and appropriate to the themes. And so there's a lot of coordination, but it's really getting the creative input from all these different people and making sure that everyone is working toward the same goal with the same vision. And so, yeah, that's kind of how we drive the train.
And that's what we love about theater. That's why we're dedicated to theater, because it's completely collaborative. As is film, it's a collaborative art form, and we thrive there.
Yeah, absolutely right.
It's where we thrive.
Yeah.
Well, it's similar to a business. Everybody has to be on the same page to make it work.
Yeah.
And businesses that are successful, from leadership right down to the guy that sweeps the floor.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the owner that makes things work.
And we do it because we love it. Yeah. Everybody who does it, you could not work this hard and put this much time in, because it does take hours and hours and days and weeks and nights and
kind
whatnot.
of a sickness.
It is kind of a sickness. But we do it because we love it.
It's a passion.
As an audience person, if you've never been to see a play, this is the one you should come to see, because it's hysterically funny, but it's also got beautiful, poignant moments where you really care about the people on stage and what happens to them. And if you've never experienced what a group of people who love what they're doing performing for you, you really need to, because the energy that's exchanged between the performers on the stage and the audience is just magical. Zora talked about the waves of applause and laughter and things like that come at you. It is such a beautiful exchange and something not to be missed.
So Carmel, give the folks at home a setting where this Homeward Bound is.
Oh, it's two settings. The ladies are desperately trying to put together this wedding, which is definitely shotgun. The whole town's coming. It's an island. Everything is a wreck, and they're in the living. They're in the dining. They're in the dining room.
Yeah.
No, not in the kitchen. The dining room.
It's a Maine-based.
Yes.
Set on a Maine island.
Set on a Maine island. So the ladies, Act 1, are really working hard, and it's all falling apart. And Act 2, Homer is in his shed with the runaway groom and the runaway groom's brother named Ronaldo. And so where do these worlds meet? They do. And how do they meet? They do. And it turns into, I wouldn't call it a farce, but at the very end, there's great potential to watch everyone go over the waterfall. Absolute, because it's so funny. I mean, when I'm writing comedy, if I'm laughing, I go, okay, that's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, if I'm not laughing, it's not funny.
Getting through rehearsals is not always easy because we keep cracking each other up.
Starting when we first read the play. I mean, it's just funny. So.
What drew you to the play? I'll have to ask you, Peter, what drew you to this play?
Well, the opportunity to play this character really is the short answer to that. I love doing theater. I love doing community theater in this region. I like to think it keeps me young, and the experience, the communal experience of doing it is, whether it's a business or a sports team. Pick your analogy. There's something about being a part of a small group of people that come together to pull something off. That and the live aspect of it. I'm seconding what Zora said, that whether it's the laughter or just the presence of an audience, just as we're sitting here, it's real, it's happening right now. And I think that's an irreplaceable feeling in our culture. It's not often where a group of people will stop and listen to another group of people who are actually there, breathing the same air, feeling the same rhythm. And each show, even if we're right on the mark every night, each show is different. It reflects the day, the audience. That's great. I mean, I love all that.
I think we forget that there's a human nature that theater does. When we're live together, it's human nature, and it's really wacko. And that's what theater does. Because if I'm feeling something, and you're in the same room, and I'm truly, honestly feeling this, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be sitting in the audience going, wow, I feel that. And that's the joy too.
Yeah.
Zora, what brought you to this play?
Well, an opportunity to play an outrageous character. I was a professional actor for many years in New York and in Los Angeles. And I had to give it up for a number of years because I needed to make a living, and I wasn't. But it never stopped my love of doing theater. And it really was, when I moved to Maine 8 years ago, there's a remarkable community of the arts in this area, in Damariscotta and now here in Waldoboro. There are theaters and choruses and all kinds of opportunities for performers that I hadn't had when I was living in Washington, D.C. for many years. And just the opportunity to get back on the stage reminded me how much I love it. And I've had small parts in a number of plays, and this was a big part and a big opportunity for me to utilize all of my comedic skills that I developed over the years. I did improvisational theater in New York, and I did, a lot of comedy. I did comedy television commercials, and I love it. It's who I am. It's not just what I do.
The thrill of performing.
The thrill of performing. I love it. The energy is, there's nothing like it. Almost as good, well, maybe better than sex.
Oh!
Whoa!
Downtown.
There she goes. There she goes.
Hey, Larry, if I may just add briefly, I love that this play is set in Maine, that it's here, that it's a local playwright, that it's here, it's kind of us.
You're going to know these people. They're going to be your neighbor or your mother or your old aunt.
Yes.
You're going to know them.
So before we run out of time, and 25 or 30 minutes goes by really quick, Susan, with all the different elements in everybody's busy schedule and everybody's volunteer, how do you find rehearsal time for all this? To bring all these pieces to, how much of it, just briefly, talk to us about the challenges of scheduling. Scheduling is almost like a dirty word because it's so hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And I'll come back to, we do this because we love it. But yeah, scheduling is definitely a big challenge. Fortunately, we have this gorgeous space and the opportunity to actually rehearse on the stage where we'll be performing, which in community theater is not always the case. We're very lucky to have the Waldo as a home. That makes things a lot easier. But it's really just a matter of trying to coordinate the schedules of all of the actors and stage manager, and who's Lina, of course, and the producer and everybody who needs to be there, and coordinate that with everything else that's happening at the Waldo. And you find a way to make it work.
Make it work.
Make it work, yeah. And so we're rehearsing 2 nights a week pretty much for 2 hours, so it's not a lot of time. We'll be increasing that a little bit as we get closer. The show opens September 30th.
I was going to get to that. But before I do, for my 2 actors, well, actually I have 3 actors here.
We're all actors.
We're all actors. Some of us are bad actors. If somebody was to play you in life some actors, Zoro, who would be your,
Oh gosh.
who would play your life?
Beatrice Arthur.
Peter.
Oh, it'd have to be, George Clooney or Brad Pitt. I don't know. No, I don't know. Still a work in progress here.
How about you?
Oh my God, I can't answer that question.
See, that's an easy one for me. Annette Bening.
There you go.
Oh,
Take it.
Annette Bening's one.
Take
I mean,
that.
there are so many brilliant actors.
There is.
I'm sitting next to a few, and I haven't even seen them yet, but I have ultimate trust. Because they have a great director, because they have a great piece of work, and because thank you for doing this so everybody should come. You're going to laugh.
Yes, sir.
I promise.
So let's talk about when this play is going to open, Susan, and all the times and dates.
Sure. Opening night is Saturday, September 30th, 7:30 curtain. And then we have a matinee the next day, Sunday, October 1st at 3 p.m. And then the following weekend, we have shows Friday night and Saturday night. So there are 4 performances altogether. My recommendation is that folks order their tickets online for the first weekend, because you're going to enjoy it so much that you're going to go home and tell your friends and family that haven't seen it yet, and you're going to want to come back and see it again the next weekend.
Good stuff. Well, folks at home, we've been really blessed to sit here this afternoon at the Waldo Theater and talk with the actors and the director and playwright from Homeward Bound. This has been really fun for me to sit down and learn a little something about the play, and I will be seeing this play.
Excellent.
and laughing probably as hard as anybody will in the audience. And I thank you so much for taking the time and sitting down on this version of Talkin' Town Talk. We're here at the Waldo Theater. I'm Larry Seidlinger with director Susan Hodder, playwright Carmo Sanders, and Peter Henderson, and Zoro, I've got the last name, Margolis. I've got it right. The actors that are in the play are Homeward Bound, and we ask you to all check it out, as we've had another great Talkin' Town Talk here from LCTV. Thanks for watching, folks, and we'll see you next time.
LCTV is your nonprofit community media station. Please donate at lctv.org to keep us strong. Thank you.